Good evening, good evening, good evening, all. Good evening. If you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up, please? If you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Are we together? Please, I need to know if you can hear me. Everyone is likely muted, but please, if you can hear me, can you please give me a thumbs up in the chat section so I know that we are together? Okay, thank you, Elijah. Can anyone else hear me? We're about to start. Our facilitator has been in the house for 10 minutes and we must not keep him waiting. Who else can hear me? Anyone else there? From the list of participants, yes, Pastor Ben can hear me as well. So thank you, good evening. Thank you. Another edition, another month, another Friday evening with RCCG, The Secret Place, on our webinar series brought to you by Career Development Unit. Thank you very much for connecting with us. I believe that a lot more people are still trying to connect with us. So can I crave our indulgence that we give them 5 more minutes and then we... Do I have your permission? 5 more minutes, please. So we won't have to be doing a lot of recap. So once we begin, we start to soar and there wouldn't be holding us back. Do I have your permission? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So 5 minutes, we will be starting, and with me starting, he's been in the room since 7 minutes to 5, a lot more earlier than a lot of us, but we're here now, and a lot more people are connecting. So yes, in 4 minutes, 30 seconds, we will start and we will soar. Thank you. Okay. Welcome back. Like I said, we've given some people some time to connect, and a few people will do. I'd like to read out of our facilitator as he comes on board to share with us. He's been here for a while. I would like to appreciate him for his time. Quickly, Tony Epelle, Institute of Chartered, an economist and certified management consultant. Tony is also a member. 30 years post-graduation experience in strategic planning, corporate finance, capacity building, and project management in both the private and public sectors. Tony's work and training has taken him to over 30 countries and almost all the states in Nigeria. He has worked for several organizations, such as Arthur Anderson and Co., where he was in tax enterprise group, Deloitte Akintola Williams Chartered Accountants, Partnership Savings and Loans Limited, previously Intercontinental Savings and Loans Limited, where he was a pioneer managing director and CEO. Tony was also the head of financial advisory services at International Capital Markets Group, ICMG, where he held responsibilities for corporate finance, and accounting. Tony teaches at training centers and business schools in Nigeria and abroad, and is an accredited management trainer of the Center for Management Development, CMD, an associate and accredited trainer of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, NITA, and was an accredited resource person and consultant to the Chartered Institute of Bankers, CIBN. He was also the chairman of the CIBN Syndicate Group on Human Capital Development. Tony has been a regular columnist on professional development in the much respected Business Day newspaper and a reviewer of the UNESCO World Investment Report on behalf of the United Nations Information Center. Please let's make welcome Mr. Tony Epelle as he comes to share with us. You are very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dipo. Thanks be to God for today and this opportunity that you've given me. I will try to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, sir.
Right.
Okay, great. All right, great. So I'm going to be talking today about raising funds for businesses and negotiating also for funds. My topic was actually on fundraising, but I had to tweak that a little bit to get it focused on businesses. In the lingo, when we talk about fundraising, that usually connotes that we're talking about not-for-profits or non-profits. I think I'm going to start by just talking about the content. So much has been said about me. I work for a company called Samuelson. We're a consulting firm, and we have quite a bit of experience in working with clients to raise funds. So we'll talk about some background before we go into the actual issue of raising funds. So I'll talk about vision, corporate planning, type of businesses, why businesses require funds, type of funds, types of legal business structures, before I go into actual considerations for credit and for investments, and look at a case study, identify one or two venture capitalists, talk about the last part of this focus today, which is negotiating for funds. And then I will talk a bit about the role of consultants before I conclude. Well, the first thing, the starting points, I want to start from the point because I don't have very much time, but I want to at least talk about the issue of the idea. Where does the idea for a business come from? What is the concept you have for your business? What is the unique business model? What is the value proposition that you're putting on the table? You know, all this has some great impact when we are looking for funds for a business. I'll talk about that in a while, but really and truly, it's important to be very clear about your business, what your business is about, what the vision is for the business, no matter how big or small the business is envisaged to be, what your business model is. And of course, I am particularly interested in vision because we have what we call in Samuelson, the 12 habits of world-class organizations. And the very first one we always talk about is vision. Obviously, there will be no time to talk about the 12 habits, but I'll talk about the very first one, which is vision. Vision is where you're going, what you want to become. Vision is the point, is an aspiration, and it should be able to drive your business. And one of the critical things is that it should give you some critical advantage in the market. And of course, vision means that there must be an implementation plan. Vision sits right at the top of corporate planning. And that's why it's important that even as we talk about funding, which is an important part of corporate finance and corporate planning, it's important to talk about vision. I want to just talk about types of businesses you can go into. This is important because some businesses are not on the focus of some venture capitalists or some lenders or funds. I attended a program a few days ago where United States agency was talking about domiciling funds in Nigeria. And they clearly said that they were not particularly keen on looking at, for example, primary agriculture. And this is important to understand that some people will not go into some types of businesses. While it's important for us to understand our businesses, I have a client, for example, whose major focus is a venture capitalist whose major focus is in life sciences. And of course, you know, life sciences includes medicine, includes the pharmaceuticals, includes research thereof in that area. And they would do anything to do with life sciences, but they would not invest in any other area. So anything that is good for health, for healthcare, for the practice of medicine, they'll be interested in, but nothing beyond that. So some venture capitalists are very focused on just technology. Quite a number of them these days just want to focus on technology. So it's important to have that in mind when we are trying to raise money. Another important fact is that only about 20% of SMEs, they say, according to statistics for Nigeria, survive the first 5 years. For many years, I've had my offices around Awolowo Road in Ikoyi, and many businesses have been on Awolowo Road, Southwest Ikoyi. But over time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we see the face, continually see the face of Awolowo Road changing because many businesses are starting while many businesses are closing down. The face of Awolowo Road keeps changing continuously with new businesses coming up and many of them packing up. Not just moving to other locations, but actually closing down. So it's important that we must put everything in place to ensure that we not just raise funds for our businesses, but our businesses also survive. This is critical and important And so it's not just a question of raising funds, but also important for us to think very clearly of how we can ensure that our businesses do not join the statistics and become one of those businesses that fail for whatever reason. But let's even talk about why many SMEs in particular die early or fail. One of the principal reasons, obviously, is because of poor planning. So many businesses are started from a perspective of the owner just liking that type of business or that product. Many times, inadequate studies are carried out about the sustainability of the market. Is there a veritable market for the product, for the service, for the package you have for your customers or your clients? Many times, again, the business does not have adequate capital, and the proprietor or the entrepreneur is struggling continuously to raise money. Rather than scaling the business and developing a strategy to raise money over time. Of course, one of the major problems that businesses have, SMEs in particular, is the fact that they have inadequate expertise about the type of business. I say that you can even talk to those who have failed in the business to find out what the pitfalls are. It's important to understand the sector as a whole that you're going into, not just the specific business. It's important to understand the value chain of even what others are doing. Many years ago, I did some work for a company that just came to Nigeria. I'll just use the abbreviation CL. CL today is now CR. There are many major high streets in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja today. And when they were coming in, they decided that they did not have the expertise, and what they did was to get a franchise from abroad so that they could develop adequate expertise for the business. I also worked for another major organization in the same business as my client, now CR, and they are MB. You might decode what it means, but I'll call them MB. And MB was part of a big organization and was able to leverage tremendously on the other businesses in the conglomerate. So there was a logistics arm that could help them. There was a vehicle arm that could help them. There was an agricultural arm that could help them. So many other businesses. At that time, they even had a bank that could fund the business that they had. So, of course, the business model that MB had was far different from the business model that my other clients, CR, had at that time. And you can see today that for both of them, the strategy and the vision that they had at that time is evolving and coming to light and coming to play as we speak today. So it's important to be very clear about what your business model is about. And of course, failure to catch up with technology that is continuously changing, continuously evolving, could also affect any business as it grows over time. So why do businesses require funds? One of the things I had mentioned of why SMEs fail is because many SMEs do not have adequate capital. So it's important to plan for the capital that you require. But it's also important to phase your requirements for capital and not look at a one-size-fits-all approach. It could be a mix of equity, debt, and other suppliers' credit. It could be 100% equity, but you must be very clear about what your capital would be and how you want to develop it over time. Capital is an important part of your business, and it could be a major reason why a business could fail. So one reason we require funding is to start up the business. We need to start up the business. There are certain things that are startup requirements, even registering the business, for example. important to register the business, important to put all those things in place, buy an office or lease an office or rent an office. We also need capital for our ongoing operations over time before we can start to make some profit. We also need working capital to fund the core business that we have. We also need capital for specific projects or contracts. Sometimes we have a contract that is a large one and we need to fund, and we need external funding or additional funding to be able to ensure that that contract is executed. The fourth reason I have is that it's required to grow specific product lines. You might have a product line that requires some new intervention, new resources, new expertise, new technology, whatever it is. You're an ongoing business, but you require to grow a particular part of your business or line of business or a specific product. It's important, it may be important to look for new capital. And last but not the least, of course, is to grow the business, expand the business beyond the level it is now. We did a study many, many years ago for a client in Kano. The client wanted to set up a factory in Kano, and we got a bank to fund it. The bank funded the project 100% of the debt requirements, while the owners brought in equity. But along the line, within 12 months, they came back to us and said, by 18 months, we want to double this business. We want to expand this business. And so we did another business plan for them, which showed that they could profitably expand from 18 months. And the bank was so willing to fund them because they could see the progress they had made. They could see the cash flow over time. And today, the same business is thriving and is one of the top in its sector in Nigeria, not just Kano today. So 3 main types of funds are usually available to a business owner or the owners of a business. Equity, which means there's a stake in the business, which means somebody is a part owner of the business. Loans, which is a formal arrangement, usually from a financial institution, to get funding that needs to be paid back over time. With equity, usually we don't pay back equity because it's a part of the business. But with loans, you have to pay back the loan. With creditors' funds, which is the third major group, you find that what happens is that the creditors are usually people you are doing business with in one form or the other, or are stakeholders, and you owe them over time through an informal or formal arrangement, so that you don't have to pay everything to them immediately. You pay over time or pay within periodically, as the case may be. I'll spend a few minutes on this. These are different types of funds available for businesses. Your personal savings, usually the best to put into a business. Of course, I would not advise anyone to put all his savings, but adequate to what the business requires. Sometimes your savings are not enough. You may get family and friends to put in some funds if they are able to buy into the original issues I talked about, able to buy into your vision, able to buy into your business model, able to buy into your value proposition, able to buy into the business plan that you have set out to accomplish. And if they are convinced, they may decide to give you, to join you with equity if you're interested in that. Some people don't want anybody to join them with equity. They just want people to give them freebies. Some people are interested in loans. However, whatever model you come up with, a lot of people have been funded by family and friends, and of course, colleagues, ex-colleagues, and some have come in as partners. And many times when you see partnerships and you see collaborations, in Nigeria, I must say that there have been many challenges with partnerships, but I believe also that there are exceptions because a lot of them also work. Sometimes it's one person bringing capital, the other person bringing expertise. Sometimes a mix of both. But whatever the case, collaborations have been known to work. We have some Nigerian entrepreneurs recently that went into a collaboration with Disney. They do animation. And I'm sure many of you have read the collaboration they have with Disney that has changed the trajectory of their business, I would say forever. A friend of mine who used to have a medium-sized business many years ago told me that 21 out of 22 of his shareholders came from the golf course. Every one of his shareholders was from his, or was one of his golf buddies on the golf course. And of course, the 22nd person was him. So collaborations can work. Suppliers credits are also available in situations where supplier can bring in goods or can perform services and get paid later. Some organizations, it might be 90 days. For some organizations, it might be 30 days. For some organizations, no formal arrangements, but that period serves as funding for you when they are not paid. In some places, they are paid immediately. Some places, they are paid in 24 hours. But some people take the advantage and say, look, I'll pay you in 30 days. And that gives them some time to do some sales and mobilize some income to be able to pay back their suppliers. In a couple of situations, some clients or customers may give you funds in advance. So advance payments too also help to fund many businesses. I'm sure many of you might know that I remember in the 60s and even before that, a lot of foreign companies used to give many Nigerian businesses lines of credit where they would supply from overseas and get paid at future dates. Of course, development banks have been known to give out funding in Nigeria. We have a number of them. Afri-Exim, the Bank of Industry. We have the Africa Finance Corporation, still operating in Nigeria. We know places like Shelter Africa, even though they are a continental body, have been known to help housing development in Nigeria, and so on and so forth, the Infrastructure Bank and the like. Of course, commercial investment banks and investment banks have always been known to be the traditional source of credits, not necessarily equity, except I believe there was a period where the central bank allowed them to invest a couple of years back in a couple of institutions. And of course, microfinance banks are also there to provide credit. Now we have a wave of credit companies, even though their interest rates are a bit above average, but they're available. In some instances, they tell you that they can give you instant credit within 24 hours or practically within hours. Also, some have trade lines, export guarantee schemes and the like, where they can get some credit. I've talked about advance payments. Home equity is also an area where, especially in the United States, is used. And I've seen it being used in Nigeria as well, where people have put up their homes or offices or buildings and taken out some equity from it and offered it as available to be used as collateral for funding requirements. Of course, many people have taken advantage and gotten foreign capital. The foreign direct investments are still coming to Nigeria, and that has been on for several years. A few private equity firms exist in Nigeria. We also have a few angel investors. I remember, I think Tommy Davis was actually the chairman of the Association of Angel Investors, and they are a veritable source of funding where they exist and are available. Crowdfunding is available on social media. GoFundMe campaigns are done usually for charitable purposes, but I can tell you that some people have used them also for commercial purposes. Sale of assets, people have assets and say, well, I better sell off these assets and get back the value of what I put into it, or higher values of what I put into it, or for sale values of what I put into it, so that I can use it for my business. And that is also related to the sale and leaseback option that is also available. You could have a car and offer it to the bank or to a leasing company and say, look, why don't you take my car and I sell it to you and I'll lease it back, with an option, maybe an option to buy back at the end of the lease. Of course, deferred payments are just arrangements where you say, hey, look, I'm going to pay you later. Lease and hire purchase have been widely available also in Nigeria. One that we've not taken advantage of in Nigeria quite intensely is life insurance policies, because life insurance holds some annuity that you can leverage on and also get some funding out of. And of course, you have an invoice, banks or other financial institutions can also give you some funds based on invoices that they can certify. And on my list, last but not the least, is the fact that you have government grants available to sometimes soft loans, sometimes just support facilities to projects to give a boost. And government has done this to the private sector in a couple of instances in the past, and also through many schemes have also offered loans. I think there's also the Lagos State, for example, the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, which grants loans to eligible youth, especially. Okay, what sort of structures are available to us? Because these are important when you're raising funds. You have the sole proprietorship, which is the common one, which some consultants use, some traders use, some businessmen use. There's also, of course, the consultant who operates in his personal name, or the legal practitioner, for example, that operates in his personal name. Of course, there are partnerships that you can go into and then and get registered legally. And of course, project-type joint ventures. Lagos State Ministry of Justice has a program where they can actually register your joint venture, and you actually pay your tax based on that venture and all that. Limited liability companies are common, and many of us have limited liability companies. The advantages of each of these type of businesses, and it's important to do that research. And of course, PLCs, public limited companies, some. Of course, it doesn't mean that there are no other structures, but these are the major structures that we have. Now, what do the banks usually want when they are giving out credit? What does an investor look out for when he gives out credit? Of course, one of them, we have what they call the 5 C's of credit. And one of them is that the guy who is lending is doing a business. The banker is operating a business. He wants to make a profit as well. He doesn't want to lose the investment that he has put in. So of course, he's going to put in certain things or look for certain things that will enable him recover his money at the end of the day and also make a tidy profit. So it's important to understand that. I will just give you a few things which I think are important from my experience working with investors, working with bankers. They want to know the purpose. They want to know if you have a market for your goods and services. What is your business model? How is it distinct? How is it sustainable? Are you offering any collateral? How much liquidity do you have in your collateral? Do you have other income sources? What's your work experience? What's your occupation? Do you have expertise in the area you're going to? Are you going to buy expertise or look for expertise to help you? What's your credit history? What's your age? If a 16-year-old boy comes in, it's different from when a 36-year-old man walks in. I'm going to look at both of you from different perspectives. Or an 86-year-old man comes in. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective. Location. Where are you going to site that project? Online, in a particular place that I know is almost war-torn. What's your public profile? What's your debt profile? Now we have credit rating agencies. I'm sure we know that there are many credit rating agencies in Nigeria, or a few, not many, a few credit rating agencies in Nigeria. Credit Registry, I know, is one of them. And today, they have profiles on so many people. And the fact is that you don't even know the information they have on you. What sector are you going to operate? How is the economy right now? These are external things to you, but they also affect the credit decision or the decision to invest, whether it's a foreign investor or a local investor. And of course, what is your business plan saying? Have you done surveys? Have you looked at the market? How feasible is your project? There's a lot of information that is required to ensure that the business of me lending to you, or the banker lending to you, or me investing in your project happens. A lot of work is required, and we need to understand that upfront. There's what we call proof of concept. Have you done this business before? Is there a traction for this business? When we had the seminar a few days ago with the United States body that wanted to do funding in Nigeria, or that wants to do funding in Nigeria, they said they were not going to look at any organization that was less than 2 years old. So that's critical. That's important. You know, how well have you done your business? It does not mean that a startup cannot get funding, but it means that people are more interested in ongoing businesses. So if you can start your business without any help and get some traction, it helps tremendously. And then what's your relationship with the bankers? Have you been antagonistic to them? Have you been threatening them with your lawyers in the past? That also adds up to them taking the decision on whether to work with you. I just want to show you some of the things that the Bank of Industry, we are consultants to the Bank of Industry, and these are some of the things that they look at. Obviously, there won't be enough time to go through it, but some of the things that they want to know is your background. They want to know your background. They want to know your ownership structure, your other shareholders or directors, your management. And they want an analysis of your past operations, why you need the loan, how creditworthy you are, and they want to know about the project. So on and on, there are a long list of things that each investor or each potential shareholder or each debt provider will require from you. And it's important to understand all of that. Section 7 of the questionnaire that the Bank of Industry asks says that they will do a risk analysis on you. They want to know what government incentives are available to you. They want to know what security you have for the loan. The Bank of Israel website has a lot of updated information, and you can always check it to see this. Because of time, I will not spend so much time on the core areas, but I want to just say some general things and spend a bit of time talking about some general things based on my experience in trying to raise funds for clients. One of them is ensure parsimony. Now, what does this mean? This means that the first thing I do with my clients is say, don't start off being too big. Start off being lean. Start your business being very prudent with money. And then you can build from that point. I say it's better to err on the side of caution than to get into a business that you're not sure about and run into debt. So this is important. I prefer that my clients run away from debt than to get into debt without opening your eyes wide. It's also important to be market driven. Don't go into a sector or a product line because you just like it. Is there a sustainable, is there a veritable, verifiable, and sustainable market for that product? This all is important when you're going for fundraising. This is also important to even ensure you are paying back the loan. This is important to ensure you are delivering value for your shareholders. Because each time someone gives you money as a lender or as an investor, he's taking a risk. And he's taking a risk many times based on trust. He's taking a risk many times based on the information you are provided. So I always say that as much as possible, meet the requirements of the lenders or the investors. Ensure you understand your own business model. Ensure that you understand your own business plan. A third party might have written it, but it's important that you understand that business plan and the projections that it contains. And then you must be committed to the repayment schedule. And if there are interferences, if there are issues that will not let you meet the terms of the term sheet you've been given or the terms of the offer letter you've been given, if you know them in advance, please speak out early in the day. If you know them, if you know those issues that can impede your ability to repay, it's important to also speak out while you are in operation. I advise clients to see how they can build collateral over time, because really and truly in Nigeria, that is the way to go, where you need temporary funding over time for projects and the like. It's important that you work hard and show some integrity. It's integrity that will help you get the second batch of funding. If you have a good product, people will buy into it, but you have to demonstrate that it's a good product. It's important that there is a market. Please don't be product-led and go into raising money where you don't have the capacity, where you don't have the capacity to deliver. Please be market-driven and build collateral over time. It could be in property, it could be in shares, it could be Naira or foreign deposits, large movable assets, where you can do sale and lease backs. Please, collateral will usually be important no matter how much income you have. It depends on the business you go into, I agree, but collateral usually will help. I found that the bankers love that, and even an investor wants to see that you have something on ground. I believe that raising funds in Nigeria is not an easy task, I can tell you, but certainly doable. Where do you think the banks are making the billions of naira they are making every day? From lending. So lending will still go on. And of course, even the banks and many other projects in Nigeria are funded by investors. Investors are always looking for good opportunities to put money, but you must demonstrate that you have a good project. I want to thank you most sincerely for listening. And I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. I just want to leave some time for questions. And if the organizers will take over, I'll be able to speak to specific issues as they arise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give Mr. Epelle an round of applause in the chat section. I'll do mine here. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. We appreciate the wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us. Thank you so very much. We have learned a lot, and I know like you had to compress, consolidate, summarize everything together. But thank you so very much. Well, for me, I like the fact that you started with that every business must have a vision. It is very important. And talking about business model. And you also talked about one of your clients that had an evolving business model. I think that's something that a lot of businesses here do not understand. For us, we believe that whatever business model we start with should be the business model we'll continue with, even though the business is evolving, but we do not go back to see how we're going to address our business model. Why businesses fail: poor planning, inadequate markets, inadequate capital, inadequate expertise, inadequate knowledge from the business operators, from the business owners, from the management of the business, from the people in charge of it. Thank you so very much. Very, very profound. And I personally have two questions. Please, if we have any questions, let's drop them in the chat section. Every other person is muted if you are not a co-host. But please let us drop our questions in the chat section very, very quickly. I would lead with two questions that I have. I believe there are two. Yes, I'll lead with two questions that I have. While he's addressing them, please, let's have our questions typed out in the chat section as we coast home. My first question, you talked about certain people that basically do niche financing. For example, there are people that they would only invest in tech. There are certain people that they will only invest in agriculture. There are certain people who would only invest in certain sectors. How can we locate investors like that? Or how can we locate fund managers or people that provide access to funding that do niche financing? How can we locate them? And or how can we locate them? The second question is, you talked about the types of funding that we can seek. How important is the position and type of business you're running in determining what type of funding you seek? This is what I mean. How important is the position? So when I say position, I mean the phase of your business, the current state of your business. Are you a business that maybe you're just starting up? Are you a business that maybe you've been in business for 2 years? Are you a business that maybe you've been there for 3 years? You really have a staff of 10 people? And also your type of business. Now, type of business goes to talk about if it's limited liability, if it's a partnership, if it's a sole proprietorship. How important is the position and type of your business in determining what type of funding you seek? That is my second question. I don't know if you got both of them, sir.
Okay. I know that to be able to do any corporate finance work in Nigeria is supposed to be financial advisory work. You're actually supposed to register with the central bank. So those who are really doing the sort of financing that we're talking about, whether niche or venture capital or whatever, are actually supposed to be registered in Nigeria. And I know that that's not a difficult schedule to get. There are obviously also some foreign investors that are playing in this market. That may not be readily available, but I think I have a few of them, a list of a few of them in this schedule, and in privately I have. So I believe I can send you a couple of them. But really and truly,
okay,
we don't have too many that are niche players in Nigeria, but there are a couple that are just focused on specific areas. In terms of locating them, like I said, through the central bank, that's one. And then two, so online they're available, the list is available. But I'm sure I have a few other players who are also playing in that market. Type of business, position, phase, and funding. I'm not sure whether there's a term sheet for that. I'm not sure that there are clear guidelines for that, because I know that a couple of 2-3-year-old tech companies can get much more funding today than even a brewery that has been on for 30 years. So the dynamics have changed. A venture capital company might be interested in putting $30 million in a small techie company, but he might not put that in a brewery. So I'm just saying that I'm not sure whether all that is important today with the dynamics of the market. Let's even look at who the star players are in a couple of markets. Just look internationally, and you'd see the wave of younger players that are the top 10, top 20, top 50 companies in the world. Come to Nigeria, the same thing. Just even take the banking sector and see the top players. They started much later than the 120-year-old banks, and they've overtaken them in many indices. Look at many indices. So I'm not sure that's going to be a major issue. Even startups today are getting some good funding. I've been involved in a couple of them myself, where people are put in billions. I've done a few projects that people are putting billions, literally billions, and they didn't have one asset on the ground. So, like I said, what is key is going to really be the vision people are buying into. They're also going to be buying into you. Can you convince them that this is a good deal for them and there's a payback? Of course, many businesses, many investments have been made and have failed, but many have succeeded. Yeah, so that's
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you for that, sir. There's a question here from our resident pastor, Pastor Peolu Alonge. He says, experience in tech thus far shows majority of the funds coming in revolve around almost the same set of businesses or individuals. How can we break into that circle?
Want to answer that or wait for other questions?
I think that's the only other question we have for now in the chat section. Please, if we have any other questions, please let's drop them because we are closing home.
Okay, let me just say very clearly that I think the general market is not as organized as it should be. I don't believe that we have a lot of people that have had investments have made pitches themselves, have looked for the investments and have made pitches themselves. I had an investor recently that was interested in a number of areas. He was very clear about, he didn't want oil and gas, for example. and he wanted to look at specific areas like telecom infrastructure. He was interested in some aspects of agriculture that involved mass production. But everybody has his own niche he wants to look at. He came with a clear mindset, but you find that there are many other people who just want to go for a winner. One, technology has been a winner, so many people are looking at that. Two, the same guys, yes, I can understand that because they've had a track record. Even the ones I listed earlier on, you'll find that they have been in that space a while and they know the active players. I believe that it's important to go back and talk to those who are involved, especially in the tech side of things. And they'll tell you a lot of stories. It wasn't easy. I gave you an example of the young Nigerians, 3 young Nigerians, 2 of them are Nigerians. The other one, I don't know, I don't think he's African, but not Nigerian, who just got a deal with Disney. And they had to do a lot of proof of concept things. They had to do a lot of pitches. They paid the price, you know. So funding, like I said, is not easy. We used to joke in my early days of corporate finance and say the actual success rate is actually 1/10, maximum 2/10. So that area we can break into, but we don't have a formal type of organization that we can say, oh, these are the list of all banks, and we get into it. Sometimes they peep into the country. Sometimes they're running out of the country as investors. But even the local investors are not as organized themselves, even for investment in general. And I think that's an important issue you have raised, because there's a dearth of information generally.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that, sir. He'd want to verbally explain his question further. I think so we can all get clarity on it. Pastor Kwek, please, could you unmute your microphone?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. How is everything, sir? Thank you so much. It's been amazing and profound. You know, these are the kind of conversations you only see people. I mean, people that do this are always clandestine in nature. It's just a very few class of people that have access to them. So thank you so much, sir. I wanted to put a few emphasis on the question, because I'll use a practical example. I was part of a team that was developing like a G Suite platform for music production in Nigeria. You know, because many of the record labels have they've been the giant masters, the giant the elephants in the room when it comes to the music industry. So a couple of guys started doing something online to bypass the record labels. And we had an opportunity to pitch with Shola. We had a few VCs. And after we spoke to them, imagine they told us that they were only going to take us on if we had a conversation where Shola, Kennedy, that's Paystack guys were on the table. I didn't feel comfortable with it. I mean, why do we need to pick to Shola before we can get over to you? But I started seeing that that ecosystem, especially when money is on the table, it's just a small circle. And you will need to be in that circle to even be allowed to sit on the table. And we had these meetings with him, 2 meetings with him. The first meeting, we felt like the idea was a bad one. We wanted to work on it. We worked on it. At the second meeting, the guy says we should go back to the first idea. That's the best idea. And that's the one they are willing to follow. So it just, there's so much power given to these guys in this small ecosystem. And it becomes a bit difficult to fly. So I don't know, how can we circumvent these guys?
Interesting.
Did you get that?
It was breaking quite a bit, but I'll just try.
Okay.
Like I said, one of the things that happens in this system is that it's difficult to bring in new players into a sector and trust that they can deliver, especially in music. You would see that many people have tried and not succeeded. I'm not talking about your area. I'm talking now in general terms. Let's even look at oil and gas. A lot of banks are in trouble today because of the oil and gas sector, but some people have streamed out in the oil and gas sector. So it's easier for me to trust you because you have worked in that sector or you have made a success of that sector. I'm going to talk about a number of things, but let me give you, when I talked about my clients that had a niche area, healthcare, life sciences, I tried a number of times to get some researchers in Nigeria, their works to get investments. But let me tell you one of the things that happen. There are people like Imperial College that invest in these areas. There are people in Japan that invest in these areas. You have to be known in that space. In fact, my clients in the US said, look, if it's not for the Caucasians, it's going to be difficult to sell. If the products you are bringing are to treat an African disease, it's going to be a difficult sell. Now, this is a Black person talking to me. I can tell you that even in the oil and gas sector, we just finished a deal that we're trying to tidy up. We just signed the first term sheet last week, over $20 million. But the truth of the matter is that we had to bring one of the big IOCs into the deal. At that point, the bank was ready to sign off because the IOC says they'll cooperate with these guys in this project. Only because of that, we're able to raise that type of money because an IOC says we'll back this or we'll be part of this. So these things happen in different sectors. That's what I'm trying to say. These, like you said, almost clandestine. I heard you use that word. Yeah. And it happens okay, you know the music industry today. One of the current stars in the music industry today, her story was that she had tried here and there, and she slid into the DM for John Jazzy, and that's how she got her break. Maybe if she was trying on her own and she didn't try that approach, she wouldn't have made it to today. You know, so I'm trying to say that yes, there are other people that have made it without that. Yeah, good for them. But you find that increasingly it becomes a closed shop, a smaller club. Why do you think that the oil people have the petroleum club and the like? You know, so it's difficult for them to accept you in, because I mentioned earlier about the whole issue of what we call proof of concept.
Yes.
And proof of concept means that you are a player in the sector, you have a track record in the sector. So we can trust that you have done it before. And again, if you are lying to someone who has done it before, it's easier for me to trust that you will succeed.
Okay. Because for me, I mean, especially after the first meeting where Shola was seated, and he kept saying,
are you talking about Flutterwave?
I know it's Paystack.
Sorry?
I'm talking about Paystack.
Paystack, sorry, not Flutterwave, Paystack. Yeah.
Yes, Paystack. You know, because the investor kept insisting that he wasn't going to talk to us except he was seated. I know. And when he kept saying, giving witnesses about the products, I'm like, what you're saying? You're giving witnesses because you feel the person making the presentation is not a marketer. That was not a substantial reason. Only for us to come back the second time and you're telling us to go back to the first one. And that's the one that we sell. It just made me know how much power is given to this small club of guys. And apparently, I've explained now, we have to go through them. We have to go through them. And I also remember last year, I don't know if you know Akumen. Do you know Akumen?
You said Dino?
No, do you know Akumen? Akumen. There's this body called Akumen. Akumen. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm not sure I do.
Okay, so they came into Nigeria. I think Dipa was in that meeting. They came into Nigeria and they said they were bringing in investors. But apparently, when the investors came, they discovered that it was the same set of people that got access to the funds previous year that were on the table. But these guys came with different new organizations. So these guys just opened different companies, gain access to the same the money that is available, and they clean up. So it's with your explanation, it's clearer now that people rather deal with them than deal with newcomers. So it's understandable.
Yeah.
So we must find our way to build a bridge between us.
I think we should have a chat at some point on this.
Okay. Yeah.
Offline.
Yes, I
Okay.
will connect you after now. I just sent you a message, Pastor Kwe, and I will connect both of you after now. But I believe that what he's saying, what Pastor is saying is the continuation of the second question I asked, and that's why I asked that question, because for every industry, every sector, there are gatekeepers, and they are there, and they are. So that's why I asked if the position, if the phase, if all of that mattered in how you seek funding. And I like the answer you gave, that there is no clear blueprint to it. It is a door that is wide open. I think it is just how we will go through that. Pastor Kwe was trying to find out if there is maybe a secret formula from your experience as to how we can go about it. But definitely, I know that both of you will be picking up the conversation after now. In the absence of any other question, I want us to be winding down because time is fast spent and Mr. Tony has another engagement to get back to. But before we sign out, I don't know if Pastor Ben, the minister in charge, would like to have a word with us, and then Pastor Kwe, our resident pastor, would also have a comment, 60 seconds each, as we sign out. Pastor Ben, are you there? If you are, kindly unmute yourself, please. Okay, I'm not sure he is. So Pastor Kwe, please, would like to have you back for 60 seconds to help us appreciate Mr. Tony and help us sign out as we are winding down. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you once again. Mr. Tony, it's a big appreciation for the clarity you have given. Thank you so much. We pray that God will keep blessing you, expanding the works of your hands in Jesus' name. Now, to everyone, I want to encourage us that, you see, many of us have ideas, but we just don't. One of the reasons why our ideas die even before they are born is because we try to phantom and think where the source of the funds will come from. And in short, there were so many options he was giving, and I was like, wow. So the one he was talking about, it's something to lease. Give your account to the bank, and you can lease. There's so many options. Go out there, and that's the reason why we're doing this online series, to empower us with knowledge. People of God, listen. There's only one thing licensed by heaven to limit you, and that is ignorance. Demons do not have power over us. You have victory over them by God's grace. That's what Jesus came to do. Jesus has done his part. It's now your part. Go out there and join series like this. After this meeting, reach out, get more information that can enhance and empower your business. And as you do so, as you acquire knowledge, it's one of the greatest tools God knows that the believer is not getting. We want to pray all day and not know all day. May God give us understanding in Jesus' name. Once again, I want to thank everybody. Thank the Careers and Development team, Dipo, and your team. Thank you so much. And we hope that next month again, once we have the next series, we'll have more bigger turnout. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tony. Again, we really do appreciate you. And let me say now, so you won't say that maybe it's when I'm saying what's happening, I'm saying it. We will bring you back some other time, a few months down the line, and we're hoping that you'll be available to help us expand on what we have discussed today and any other conversation we're looking to bring up there. Thank you very much to the entire pastorate. Thank you very much to our minister in charge. Thank you very much to the workers, to everyone who has participated. Thank you to our facilitator. Thank you to Pastor Paula Daniel. I think I saw him come into the room a while ago. Thank you so very much, every single person that has been a part of today's webinar, brought to you by RCCG, The Secret Place, Career and Development Unit. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you for being part of it today. Next time will be next month. Please look out for the details on our usual channels for more information. Thank you so very much. God bless you. We wish you a wonderful rest of the month of May, a fantastic weekend ahead. And we say bye for now. God bless you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.